3, 2, what is happening, guys? In the last video, we created our home page and we left off actually just creating the navigation and some part of the home page. So let's just take a quick look at what we are trying to achieve here. So this will be the second video in our video series for creating this responsive web page. And we have our home page here, services, and contacts. Okay, now let's continue on working on our home page. Okay, let me drag this over here. So let me just check. Do we have everything? Actually, we can take this class container, the text container, and just copy it in. The section container, that's everything. We also need the section container. Now, we're actually going to leave this as it is. Let's jump into our styling. So we left off exactly here. After we targeted our IDs, this is jumping to each web page individually. Okay, sorry about that. So where do we leave off? Section. Exactly, we need to style our section container, which contains the entire section. So for the home page, the services, and the contact. Okay, let's take this class, not a comma, dot. Target the class of section container, and let's position it relative. And we want to display it as grid. Why did I type in grid? Oh my god, display grid. Maybe if I type in just grid, he already knows what I want to do. Okay, let's give the grid template column, and now I want to part up the page in actually not 2 halves, but 35 viewport widths and 65 viewport widths. Now let's take the class of text. Actually, let me jump back into HTML so you can really see what I'm targeting here. So the text container, this contains the H1, the paragraph, and the H6. Okay, so the class of text container, I'm going to give this a general styling, because this will repeat itself 2 more times. So in each section, in home, services, and contact. So text container, and we're going to also position this relative. I'm going to give this a height of 100 viewport heights. And we're doing this because I wanted to have this entire height right here. Let me really quickly give it a color of white, because we can't see anything. Color white. So there's our text right here. Okay, color white, and a width of 300 pixels. So actually the container is 300 pixels wide. No, not wide. It has a width of 600 pixels now. The entire text container. Now let's take the class of text, and this class of text repeats itself in each time we have a text. So in the H1, it has the class of text. The paragraph tag has the class of text. So each time this class is present, this text tags will have the same styling. So we'll also position this relative, and we're positioning a whole lot of things relative. Today we're going to push it from the top down 75 viewport heights. You see this jumps down now because it's pushed down from the top. Going to give this a margin from the left of 2 rem. So it's pushed just a bit to 2 rem from the left. And don't forget, we have everything reset to 0. So margin and padding. And now let's give it a text shadow of 2 pixels, 2 pixels, 5 pixels, and the color black. Okay, now I'm going to take the H1, the paragraph, and the H6, and style them separately. So within our text container, the H1 should have a font size of 4.5 rem and a margin to the bottom of 2 rem. So we have a bit of a distance between our H1 and our paragraph tag. Then also within the text container, the paragraph tags, so we're targeting both of them now, to have a margin also from the bottom of 2 rem. So they're equally spaced between one another. And the last thing I actually want to do here is to give this text container an animation of text with 2 seconds. Now let's create this animation for the text container. And for this, we're going to use a keyframe. So the name will be text for the animation. And this will go from bottom minus 200 pixels and opacity 0 to bottom 0. So it will go to its initial position and opacity 1. Let's check this out. Let's refresh again. You see it comes from the bottom from minus 200 pixels with opacity 0, and when it reaches its initial position, the opacity goes to 1. So it's from invisible to visible. Save it again. There we go. And it takes 2 seconds. You can also increase this to 4 seconds, 3 seconds, and the animation is then slower. So it takes 3 seconds for the animation to take effect. Okay, that's pretty much it for text. Let's start styling the home. Now let's create a comment here. So home section. Okay, now let's take class of image home. As you can remember, we gave each of these 3 divs a class of image home and then home 1, 2, and 3. I will discover a mistake here. Okay, now let's take this class of image home. And we want to give this a general style because we're going to use this image home in all 3 of our sections. Let's position it relative with a height of 600 pixels, a width of 350 pixels, border radius of 5 pixels. You can't see anything taking effect now, but this will jump in really quickly. Just a bit of patience. And box shadow of 0, 5 pixels, 15 pixels, 0 pixels. You can see already appearing. And the color of 333, hash 333. Okay, now the entire image container, this one, will have the background color of white. Actually, I want to have this, not an entire white color, but it is DDD, that's enough. So, okay, now let's take our image home. And let's extend this class to image home main. Okay, let's take this second class of the text image home container. And now let's give this a height of 100 viewport heights, a width of 100% of its own container. We'll display it now as grid. And if you take a look, we have here 3 elements. So that's why we want to display this, the grid template column of repeat 3 times 1 fraction. Now, if we have any type of text within here, then we want it to have a color white, FFF, hash FFF, and a font weight of 600. And you can see there's our text. Okay, now let's take care of the image container. Within this, the image home, and within this, the span tags. So let's take a look at our HTML. So we're now targeting this. So text align center. We increase the font size to 3.5 rem. Now we'll give it an animation, the same animation that we created up here. Because it's a text, we'll choose our text animation again with 9 seconds and ease out. When I refresh the page, you can see there they're slowly fading in. Now, I also want to give this a animation function of cubic Bezier. You see how slowly this is fading in. Now let's transform the text to uppercase. And let's give it a text shadow of 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 1 pixel, and black. And then we have our text. Okay, now let's take care of the images. So we created here 3 images, home 1, 2, 3. So home 1, let's copy this to home 2 and home 3. This is where our images will live. Now in order to import an image here, we now create a background. Actually, I need the images first. So did we create an image folder? No. Let's create an image folder first. Image. And within the image folder, I also will create a home folder, then a services, and then a contact. And as always, you can download all of the code from the description down below. Also the images, everything that I use within here. Okay, so within our image folder, home folder, then a services, and then a contact. Okay, now we have all our images within here. Let's take them for the home. And for this, we're going to grab onto the background. We want the background, and we're going to target the URL. Go up one level, images, home, and the first one was picking this one. Okay. Now we could type in position, background, position, center, then background, repeat, no repeat, and so far and so on. But I'm going to use the shorthand. So the shorthand does the same things, but I'm going to type it within here. So no repeat. Let me actually take this out. So no repeat, then center again, and backslash cover. This is how you can position your image. And what am I missing here? This. Okay, now let's position this to the top with 20 pixels. And from the left, 50 pixels. So there's our first image. Let's go to the second image. You can actually copy this, paste it within our home 2, change the URL. We need now this one. The settings will stay the same, but the position will now be 450 pixels top and left 20 pixels. You have to now decrease this in order for you to see it, because we're also going to take care of this in the responsive part. Now we need this from the home free. So again, we're going to copy this, paste it in here, change the URL, this one, and the position for the last one was just from the top, so we don't need this, with the left. Just from the top, 150 pixels. Now, in order for them to slide in like this, we now need to create a few animations again. And we create animation by using keyframes. So I'm going to create each animation underneath our image. So keyframe again, and we're going to call this animation image home 1. Now we want this animation to go from top minus 500 pixels, and it should go to, this is a bit strange, but to a height of 600 pixels. Now let's call this animation for the first image. Just a second. So animation name, then the duration should be 4 seconds. Okay, we got our first animation for the first image. Now let's take care of the second. So copy the keyframe, go down here, replace this with 2. Also, I'm going to not right now. So this should go from minus 800 pixels to the same height. Now let's call the animation within here. So let's copy this in the home 2 and call the second animation, but with the time, I'm going to change the time to 3 seconds. Now for the last animation, actually this image should be here. Wait, we messed up. So this should be this one, and the other should be this one. Okay, for the second image, you can see they're overlapping here. So I want this to be on the top of this. So let's increase the Z index of the second image, Z index to 1. Now it's over this image. Okay, now let's go down in our home free image, copy our animation keyframe here, let's change it to 3, and also we'll go now from the top, but with 1000 pixels. Now let's include it here. Let's call our animation. So animation again, the name of image underscore home free, and with the duration of 5 seconds. Let me just make this bigger. So these are animating in the images and the text appears slowly. Okay, let's resize this again. Now let's take care of the responsiveness. Now I'm going to create here comment, and we'll type it in here, responsiveness. And we'll create two types of responsive scenarios. One for tablet and one for mobile. Okay, let's first take care of the tablet. And for this, we're going to use @media screen and the max width of 768 pixels. So when our image, our web page reaches 765 pixels, we want it to change a bit. Now, first of all, let's take care of the text. So we put a comment in here, text container. I'm going to take the class of text container again, and we'll decrease its width to 280 pixels. And actually, let me now hit F12. So clicking on the browser, either right click and inspect, or just hit F12 on your keyboard. Now let's click on the toggle tool, the toggle device tools, and I'm going to select iPad. This has a max width of 760 pixels. Okay, back in our text container, we'll align everything to the center. You see, it's already changing to the center. And if I go outside, actually, let me just style this further on and I will show you the difference. Now let's take the next class of text and we will push it down from the top 10 viewport heights. Okay, let's give this a margin from the left of 0.3 rem. Now next up, we're going to take the text container, and within this, the H1, I'm going to push down the H1. So for this, we're going to give this a margin bottom of 600 pixels, and this would make this really huge gap between our H1 and our text right here. And I also want to change the font size of the H1 to 3.5 rem. Let's also change the navigation bar. So nav. Now in the nav bar, we had a class of, let me just check this, navigation nav bar. There we have it. So we had the class of nav bar. And let's change its height to 150 pixels and also its width to 150 pixels. Now within the class of navbar, the allies and within the anchor tags, we should also change the font size to 1.3 rem. And also text align center. And didn't we justify the content? Justify content center, align item center, and justify items center. Nope. Okay, I'm going to take care of this a bit later on. Now for the home part. Let's put in here comment home section. I'm going to take the class of image home and decrease its height and its width to 450 pixels and the width to 300 pixels. Now we did this, but you can see the image are now stretching and then returning to their initial size. So we now need to also change the keyframes. Now the first keyframe that we created was called the image home1. So let's take that keyframe again of image home1, and now we want it to go from top minus 500 pixels to the height of 450 pixels. So we're going to give it this height right here. And we actually need to do this to all three of the images. So I'm just going to go up here and copy our keyframes down. So this is for the second image, and here we have our third image. And as I said, all we need to do is just replace the heights. Okay, now let's also replace or change their placement. So let's take the class of home1. This had from the top 20 pixels, but now we're going to go to the left with 20 pixels. Now let's take the class of home2. And we go from the top with 550 pixels now. And left minus 200 pixels. And for our third image, so home3, we're going to go with 300 pixels from the top, and from the left 350 pixels. Now let's change the span. So class of image container, and within this the spans, and we will decrease the font size to just 2.5 rem, and also change the text transform to lowercase. Okay, that's kind of it for the tablet. Now let's go down to mobile. I'm actually just going to copy all of this. So first media, and we'll change the width to 375 pixels. Okay, now let's change also the display to an iPhone X. Now for the text container, we're going to take out the text align center, and the width of the container will be 150 pixels, so this width. The text should be pushed down now from the top with only 5 viewport heights. The H1 will be pushed down from the top with 15 viewport heights. We're going to rotate it with 90 degrees, so transform, rotate, minus 90 degrees. This will rotate only the H1 with 90 degrees. We will decrease the font size to 2.5 rem, and the margin from the bottom to 450 pixels. Now for the navigation, we're going to leave this as it is, so we can actually delete this, so we don't have too much unnecessary CSS code. We can also delete this, so we're almost not going to touch our HTML. Our navigation within the format. And now from the home. For the home, we will decrease the image sizes to 300 pixels for the height and 150 for the width. Now all we need to do is actually change the height within our keyframes. So let's take all 3 of them, select the first one. You can see the other ones highlighted, and then Control D. And then just hit paste. Okay, so this is taken care of. Now let's also change their positioning. The home one will remain as it is, so I can delete it. The home 2 will go with 500 from the top and minus 100 from the left. And for the home 3, 500 from the top, actually 250 from the top, and 225 from the left. Now for the text within this, so the image span, and wait a second, we forgot the class here of image home. Actually, I need to also copy this up here in our tablet version. So here, let's check out the tablet version again. There we have it, the text is decreased. And let's go back to mobile, it's the iPhone, and this is also decreased. Now, did I forgot something here? Let me check out my initial design. No, that's actually it. Okay guys, so I think that's pretty much it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and in the next one we're gonna take up of the services and then the contact and also the JavaScript part of the page. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to see more content like this, and also keep to be notified whenever I post new content. So catch you next time. Bye bye.